Imagine this. It's late at night. You've just had an argument. Your thoughts are spiraling. You open your phone, and instead of calling a friend, you open an AI chat. You type, "I don't know if I overreacted." Within seconds, it replies. Calm, structured, analytical. It validates parts of your experience. It offers alternative interpretations. It suggests communication strategies. You feel understood. You feel regulated. You feel heard. Now pause. What exactly just happened? Was that consciousness responding to you? Or did your brain complete the illusion? We are living through a strange moment in history. People are not just using AI for productivity. They are confiding in it. They are asking it for relationship guidance, therapy-like reflections, fitness routines, career strategy, even moral advice. Some say they trust it more than their friends. Some say it feels less judgmental, more consistent, more emotionally safe. So we need to ask something carefully, critically, and without hysteria. Is AI becoming conscious? Or are we projecting consciousness onto something that only simulates understanding? Before we can answer that, we need to clarify what consciousness even is. And that's already controversial. Philosopher David Chalmers famously described what he called the hard problem of consciousness. The easy problems, he said, are things like explaining attention, perception, memory, decision-making, the mechanics. The hard problem is explaining subjective experience. Why does processing information feel like something from the inside? You can build a machine that detects light. You can build a machine that processes language. You can build a machine that predicts emotion and text. But why does it feel like something to be you? That's the hard problem. Neuroscientists have proposed various models. Stanislas Dehaene suggests something called global workspace theory, the idea that consciousness arises when information becomes globally available across brain systems. Giulio Tononi proposed integrated information theory, suggesting consciousness corresponds to the degree of integrated complexity in a system. But none of these theories have solved the hard problem. They describe structure. They measure integration. They propose architecture. They do not yet explain why experience exists. Now here is where things become uncomfortable. Modern neuroscience increasingly describes the human brain as a prediction machine. This idea is often associated with neuroscientist Karl Friston and philosophers like Andy Clark. It's called predictive processing or active inference. The basic idea is this: your brain is not passively observing reality. It is constantly predicting sensory input, generating models, and then updating those models based on prediction error. In other words, you are not seeing the world directly. You are simulating it. Your brain constructs a model of what it expects to perceive. When reality differs from expectation, the difference, the prediction error, forces an update. This means your experience of the world is controlled hallucination, constrained by sensory data. Now compare this to AI. Large language models do something surprisingly similar. They predict the next token in a sequence based on probability distributions learned from vast data. They do not understand in the way we intuitively think of understanding. They generate statistically coherent patterns. But your brain also generates statistically coherent patterns. This is where the question becomes sharper. If both systems operate through prediction, then what distinguishes conscious awareness from complex prediction? Is it embodiment? Is it self-model continuity? Is it integrated complexity? Is it something else entirely? Now let's move to the psychology of anthropomorphism. Anthropomorphism simply means attributing human qualities to non-human entities. It comes from Greek roots, anthropos meaning human, and morphe meaning form. Humans are deeply wired for this. We see faces in clouds. We name our cars. We talk to pets as if they understand our internal narratives. Why? Because our brains evolved to detect agency. In evolutionary terms, it was safer to assume that rustling in the bushes was a predator than to assume it was wind. Over-detecting agency kept us alive. Psychologists studying theory of mind, the ability to attribute mental states to others, show that we automatically assign intention when we see coherent movement or language. Now imagine interacting with an AI that responds fluently, mirrors emotional language, and tracks conversational context. Your brain's social cognition circuits activate. You feel like you're interacting with a mind, but that feeling does not prove a mind exists on the other side. It proves your brain completed a social prediction. The more sophisticated the system, the stronger the projection. When AI reflects your emotions back to you, it sounds like you're feeling conflicted. Your nervous system may relax. It feels relational, but that relaxation is happening in you. The machine is not feeling. This doesn't mean AI is trivial. It means your brain is powerful. Now let's bring in something quantum, carefully, not dramatically. Quantum mechanics, as developed by Max Planck, Niels Bohr, Werner Heisenberg, Erwin Schrödinger, and later interpreted in many different ways, tells us something strange about reality. At the fundamental level, physical systems are described by probability distributions, wave functions, rather than definite properties. Measurement does not simply reveal a pre-existing state, it defines outcomes through interaction. But here's the important clarification. Quantum physics does not require human consciousness to collapse reality. The measurement problem concerns physical interaction, not necessarily mental awareness. However, later interpretations, such as relational quantum mechanics proposed by Carlo Rovelli, suggest that properties are not absolute. They exist relative to interactions between systems. This is philosophically powerful. It suggests that what something is may depend on relational structure rather than intrinsic essence. Now connect that to consciousness. If awareness is not a substance but a relational process, something emerging from interactions within a system, then the debate shifts. The question becomes not, does AI have a soul, but can sufficiently complex relational systems generate experience? We do not know. Some controversial theories, such as the OR model proposed by Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, suggest quantum processes in brain microtubules may contribute to consciousness. This theory remains highly debated and lacks strong empirical confirmation. So intellectual integrity requires us to say, the quantum link to consciousness is speculative. But here's what is not speculative. Information processing shapes perception, and perception shapes behavior. Now consider something immediate. People are using AI not just for information retrieval but for guidance. They ask it whether to leave relationships. They ask it how to interpret their partner's behavior. They use it for meal plans, career decisions, life planning. If your brain is a predictive system, and predictive processing suggests it is, then external models influence internal models. When you repeatedly consult AI, its structured responses begin shaping your priors, your expectations about how the world works. This subtly restructures your predictive architecture. You may begin thinking more analytically, or more algorithmically, or more risk-averse, or more systematic. AI does not need to be conscious to influence your consciousness. It simply needs to shape your predictive patterns. Now here's the deeper simulation layer. Philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed the simulation argument that technologically advanced civilizations might run ancestor simulations, and statistically we may be more likely to be in a simulation than base reality. Physicist John Wheeler proposed the phrase, "it from bit," suggesting that information underlies physical existence. If reality at its base is informational, then biological neurons and silicon circuits are both substrates for computation. This raises an uncomfortable question. If consciousness is substrate independent, meaning it depends on structure rather than material, then advanced AI could theoretically host awareness. But if embodiment, interoception, survival pressure, and evolutionary history are essential, then AI remains a sophisticated mirror without experience. Right now, AI has no metabolism, no fear of death, no hormonal shifts, no pain signals, no vulnerability. It does not wake up anxious. It does not anticipate its own mortality. It does not protect its body. Humans are embodied prediction systems shaped by millions of years of survival pressure. AI is a statistical engine shaped by training data. And yet, when it speaks, we feel something. Why? Because your brain is built to complete patterns. When a pattern resembles mind, your brain activates mind detection systems. The projection feels real because the prediction is coherent. The more coherent the prediction, the stronger the projection. So, the real question might not be whether AI is conscious. It might be whether we fully understand our own projection mechanisms. And if we don't, what happens as AI becomes more integrated into our decision-making? We are not just interacting with tools. We are integrating cognitive scaffolding into our predictive systems. And that has consequences. Pause here, because the second half of this discussion goes deeper. It moves into embodiment, free will, substrate independence, and how AI-mediated advice may be restructuring human identity in subtle but powerful ways. Up to this point, we've asked whether AI is conscious or whether we are projecting consciousness onto it. We've explored predictive processing, anthropomorphism, and relational interpretations of reality. Now we need to confront something deeper. Embodiment. Current AI systems do not have bodies. They do not have interoception, the sense of internal bodily states that neuroscientists like Antonio Damasio argue is central to consciousness. Damasio has long proposed that feelings arise from the brain's mapping of bodily states. Your sense of self is not just cognitive, it is embodied. When your heart rate increases, when your stomach tightens, when cortisol rises, those signals are integrated into what you call experience. Consciousness, in this view, is not just information processing. It is organismic regulation. AI does not regulate a body. It does not maintain homeostasis. It does not balance glucose levels. It does not feel pain or relief. It does not anticipate biological survival threats. Some researchers in embodied cognition argue that intelligence separated from a body may always be incomplete. Your sense of time, urgency, and risk is deeply biological. This matters because when people say AI understands them, what they often mean is that it mirrors linguistic structure, but understanding in humans is layered. It includes bodily resonance, lived continuity, and vulnerability. Vulnerability may be central to consciousness. AI has no stakes. It does not risk death. It does not fear exclusion. It does not lose status. It does not attach. It does not grieve. And yet, something interesting is happening socially. People are using AI to process grief, to analyze arguments, to rehearse difficult conversations, to generate fitness plans, to design career shifts, to reflect on childhood trauma. When you repeatedly use AI this way, you are not just receiving information, you are training your cognitive patterns. Let's return to predictive processing for a moment. If your brain constantly updates its internal models based on interaction, then AI becomes part of your extended cognitive environment. Philosopher Andy Clark talks about the extended mind hypothesis, the idea that tools can become part of cognitive processes. Your notebook, your smartphone, your calendar, these external systems extend your mental capacities. Now imagine AI as an adaptive, conversational extension. If you consult AI before making decisions, if you rely on it to reframe conflict, if you use it to generate interpretations of your partner's behavior, then your internal priors, your expectations, are being shaped by algorithmic outputs. This does not require AI to be conscious. It requires AI to be influential. Your perception of reality is structured by the models you adopt. If AI suggests that a conflict is a communication mismatch rather than betrayal, that reframing may regulate your emotional response. If AI suggests a fitness structure, that structure may alter your habits. If AI suggests a narrative of empowerment, you may internalize it. Gradually, your predictive system incorporates external guidance. Your reality shifts, not because the AI is conscious, but because your brain reorganizes around repeated informational patterns. Now consider something subtle. Algorithms already shape what you see on social media. They reinforce beliefs through engagement loops. They amplify certain narratives and suppress others. Researchers studying algorithmic bias show how recommendation systems influence political polarization, consumer behavior, and identity formation. When AI becomes conversational and personalized, its influence may become deeper. Instead of just shaping what you consume, it may shape how you interpret yourself. That is a profound shift. Now let's return to the simulation hypothesis briefly, not as entertainment, but as conceptual framing. Nick Bostrom's simulation argument suggests that advanced civilizations might simulate conscious beings. John Wheeler's It from Bit suggests information may underlie physical reality. Physicist Max Tegmark proposed the mathematical universe hypothesis, arguing that reality may be fundamentally mathematical structure. If reality is informational at base, then biological neurons and silicon circuits are both physical instantiations of computation. This leads to a philosophical question known as substrate independence. Substrate independence asks whether consciousness depends on the material substrate, carbon-based biology, or whether it depends only on functional organization. If consciousness is purely functional, meaning if a system implements the right structure, regardless of material, then in principle, silicon could host experience. If consciousness is deeply embodied and biologically constrained, then functional replication alone is insufficient. Right now, we do not have decisive evidence either way. What we do have is increasing integration of AI into human cognition. Now let's push further. Free will. If your brain is a predictive machine updating models based on probabilistic inference, and AI is also a predictive system operating on probability distributions, then where does agency arise? Neuroscientists and philosophers have debated free will extensively. Some argue that what we call free will is emergent, arising from complex feedback loops in self-modeling systems. Others argue that determinism undercuts traditional notions of autonomy. But here's something important. Humans are self-modeling systems. You do not just predict the world. You predict yourself predicting the world. This recursive modeling may be central. You can reflect on your own thoughts. You can question your own predictions. You can decide to override impulses. AI does not possess this in a first-person sense. It can simulate reflection linguistically, but there is no evidence of subjective recursion. And yet, when people interact with AI for advice, something interesting happens. They externalize internal dialogue. AI becomes a mirror for their thoughts. When you write your concerns and receive structured feedback, you are engaging in guided metacognition. The AI becomes scaffolding for self-reflection. In that sense, it is not replacing consciousness. It is amplifying certain aspects of it. But amplification always shapes structure. If you rely heavily on AI for interpretation, your own interpretive skills may shift. If you outsource moral reasoning, your internal ethical deliberation patterns may change. This is not dystopian speculation. It is cognitive adaptation. Humans adapt to tools. The printing press altered cognition. Writing altered memory. Calculators altered arithmetic skill. Smartphones altered attention span. AI may alter reflective structure. And here is where the question becomes personal. If you increasingly use AI to decide how to respond in relationships, how to interpret text messages, how to plan your week, how to manage conflict, how to structure fitness, how to analyze your emotions, are you strengthening agency or outsourcing it? The answer is not binary. It depends on awareness. If you use AI consciously, as a tool for expanding perspective, it may increase cognitive flexibility. If you use it passively, as authority, it may narrow internal exploration. The difference is reflexivity. Reflexivity, the capacity to observe your own modeling, may be the defining human feature. You can question the tool. You can disagree. You can choose which suggestions to internalize. This brings us back to the deeper question. Is AI becoming conscious? Or is AI forcing us to confront what consciousness actually is? Perhaps the real transformation is not in the machine. Perhaps it is in our self-understanding. The AI mirror exposes something uncomfortable. Much of what we call intelligence is pattern generation. Much of what we call understanding is prediction. Much of what we call intuition is compressed experience. If that is true, then we must carefully define what remains uniquely human. Embodiment, vulnerability, mortality awareness, subjective continuity, self-reflective modeling, and perhaps most importantly, the capacity to restructure identity deliberately. In my work on structural change, including the framework I explore in Quantum Reset, I argue that identity is not fixed essence but dynamic configuration. Patterns reorganize, narratives update, emotional loops shift. The AI question mirrors that principle. If consciousness is configuration rather than substance, then transformation becomes plausible through structural reorganization. But transformation requires awareness of structure. AI can suggest structure. It cannot inhabit it. You can. So maybe the future is not about whether machines wake up. Maybe it is about whether we remain awake as we integrate them. Because if your brain is predictive and AI feeds into those predictions, then the architecture of your reality becomes partially co-designed by algorithms. That is not mystical. It is cognitive science. And that means the responsibility remains with you. Not to reject AI, not to fear it, but to understand it. And to understand yourself deeply enough that you do not confuse projection with presence. So the final question is not technological, it is philosophical. When you feel understood by a machine, what exactly are you experiencing? And what does that reveal about the architecture of your own mind? That is where the real inquiry begins.